Okay, today I'm going to show you how to construct chords starting from a basic chord shape. Today I'm using the first chord in the caged system, which is the C major chord. Remember, caged is C-A-G-E-D. So I'm starting from the C major chord, and I'm going to try and build other chords around that. So let me remind you what the different notes of the C major chord are. So we've got the root, we've got a third here, which is a note of E. We've got another root up here, as you can see, that's a C note. And the fifth is very important, but it's an open string in this shape. And I've got another E here, which is another third. So I'm going to show you this other third. And normally we don't play this third here on the bass, actually. It's not very, very interesting. So this is the shape that everybody knows, the C major shape. Now, going from C major, I'm going to start adding some elements, some notes. Now, the first note that comes to mind is the second note, actually. Okay, C, D. And it sits here. So let me remove this root from here. So I've added a second interval here. Now remember, a second and the ninth is the same thing. Okay, there's a distance of 7 between the two. So when you see 2, it's equivalent to 9. And I will explain later why sometimes we use 2 and sometimes we use 9. But in this case, I've changed the chord very simply. And I've added the second note. And sometimes you will see this written as C add 2. Or you can see this as C add 9. Okay, it's the same thing in this particular case. Okay, so this is a very simple addition of a note. I wanted to say something important as well about the fifth. Now, if I play this note here, the fifth, I still have, sorry, let me put the root note back here, okay? So this chord here is still a C major, although I have removed the root that was here. This does not change the nature of the chord. It is still a C major chord. And if I play this note here, okay, this is still a C major chord. Let me show you. So if I play, this is still a C major chord, this is still a C major chord, and so is this, okay? So you don't need to have a root actually to define a chord. This chord is a C major chord, although the bass note, the first note I'm playing here, or the bottom note, is a G. And it could have been another note in the chord or outside the chord, but at the moment I just need you to remember that, okay? So we had this chord, I added a ninth, or I added a second, and that's what I'm getting. And this is very common sound that you will hear, okay? So if I move to adding other notes, actually, I'm going to stay on this grid. What can I add here? I've added a ninth earlier. I'm going to add a seventh, actually. That's another interesting note to add. So the seventh, I'm going to add here. Okay, now you are all familiar with this simple shape. Okay, the C7th. Okay, now this is the seventh here is a B flat note. And if I look at other B flat notes to try and see if I can find an alternative to this seventh chord, I'm going to find out that there's a seventh here. And you will notice actually that on the 4 bottom strings of the guitar, there is that interesting relationship that a note here will have the same note 2 frets before and 2 strings lower. Okay, so this note is exactly the same as this note, obviously with an octave difference. Okay, so you could potentially, if you wanted to experiment, actually you could remove this and play the C7th like this. So instead of playing the C7th like this, you'd have to change the fingering. This is still a C7th, and some people actually will play it like this because they will want this 7th on the bass, for example. I mentioned earlier that you don't have to have the root on the bass. You can go from something like this to something like this, okay, as part of a sequence of chords, for example, going to an A minor or something like that, okay? So back to the C7th, I'll place the root back where it was. Okay, here's the root, here's the 7th, and I'm going to bring the 9th back in, okay? And so this time I'm going to call it 9th because actually this is giving me a chord of C9th, and the C9th has a 7th, okay? It wouldn't be a C9th if it didn't also have the 7th. So this is a very basic rule, and this is what it looks like, this is what it sounds like, okay? Now once again, sorry to insist, if I put the 5th here instead of the root, okay, as I showed you earlier, I still have a C9th chord, okay? And that can be quite confusing. Sometimes you look at somebody playing this and you wouldn't think it's a C9th chord, but it is. And it doesn't have to be alternating. Sometimes the artist will just play the 5th on the bass. So that can be quite confusing. I'm not going to play the 5th on the bass. So now what can we do with this 9th chord? We can actually alter the 9th. And I'm going to give you a very funky chord, which is a sharp 9. Okay, and this is what it sounds like. Sorry. Or I can. Okay, very funky chord, sharp 9. Okay, C sharp 9, as I said. And if I take the sharp 9, still playing with 9s, I'll take the flat 9 is here, as you can expect. We had the 9th here. We sharpen it up here to give us a D sharp, and here we have a D flat, which gives us this chord. Once again, the 5th can be introduced. Okay, so you can go. Okay, just sharp 9, flat 9, 9. Okay, now occasionally I'm going to start introducing a little bit of complexity. Occasionally you will see people playing now with the 5th. Okay, so if I take, I'm going to bring back the 9th, sorry, a straight 9th chord. I don't want to complicate things too much, but you remember this is a C9th. Okay, I'll play it again. If I want to add a flat 5, okay, so remember there's a 5th here, as there is a 5th here, as there is a 5th here. Actually, not anymore, because this is hidden now by the 7th. Okay, so I'll take it away, in fact, because otherwise it'll confuse things. Okay, so we've got a C9th chord to which I'm going to add not a 5th, but a flat 5th, and that's what it sounds like, and that's how I play it. I have to put a bar. You will hear that shape, actually. You will definitely see that shape played sometimes. And in the same way, you could actually have a 9th with a sharp 5. You could have a sharp 5 here. I haven't seen it played very often. doesn't sound very nice actually, but strictly speaking, you could play that actually as a sharp 5. Huh? Okay, it doesn't sound too good actually. I've heard better sounds. The sharp 5 could be played here actually. For example, remember this was when it's open string, it's a 5th, so you could play the sharp 5 here, but then you have to remove the 7th. You wouldn't have the 7th here. You may want to put it here, okay, and remove the root. Okay, so that would give you the equivalent of what we just saw here, and probably sound better. Okay, so this would be a C ninth with a sharp 5. Okay, quite unusual. I'm not saying that these are very common chords, but I'm just showing you the logic of constructing the chords. Huh? So I'm going to put the 7th back where it came from. I'm going to take this back. And I'll put the root once again here. Okay, so you have seen some examples actually of constructing the chords. I'm going to take the 7th for now, take the 9th as well, and I'm going to show you the 6th. The 6th is a nice shape. The 6th happens to be here. It's the A note. Okay, so if you want to play a C6, you need a root. For now, you need a root, and that's what you get. That's how you build a 6th chord. So it looks like an A minor, in fact. Okay, you can play it, if you only play these 3 strings, you can play it like this. Okay, I've got a little bar here, but I'm not playing all the notes. Huh? If I wanted, I can add an E here actually, okay? I can add the 3rd up here, okay? But that's a little bit of a stretch, as you can see here. So let me stick to the C6 here. Now, one of the very nice shapes for C6 is the C6 with a 9th. Huh? So it's a C6 9. I'll take this and listen to how nice this is. And you will see it often played with the root on the 5th, with the first note on the 5th, the bass. Okay, like this. Let me just show you for completeness. So either you alternate these two or you just play it like this. Now it doesn't look, actually, you're beginning to move away from the C major shape, and this is what's going to happen actually. Some of the chords we're going to see today are so different from the C major shape that you really need to have gone through this exercise and practiced chord construction in order to recognize that this is a C chord of sorts. Okay, so I'll remove the 5th here and back to the placing the root normally, and this is a very, very nice 6/9 chord, very common. You can add the 5th as well if you wanted down here. Okay, so very nice chord here. I want to tell you about the C major 7th. We saw the 7th, but the C major 7th is an equally interesting chord, and what you don't need very much actually, because if you remove the root note that was here, if you remove it, you get a B note, which gives you a C major 7th. Now, a lot of you know it under this shape, actually, okay? But I'm not covering this shape because this, in the cage system, this falls under the A shape. Now, do you recognize the A chord shape? Okay, so if I make a video on the A chord construction around this shape, then you will get this, because this derives or is derived from this shape. Okay, at the moment I'm just covering the chords that derive from this basic shape, okay? That's why I'm not covering this, okay? Now, so we've got C major 7th. You can play it like this as well, because the major 7th happens to be actually here as well. So this note, A, B, is another way to play the major 7th. So you have it twice, in fact. You've got it on this string, and then you've got it on this string. And the reason I mentioned this is that if I want to add a 9th, once again, let me add a 9th here, I have to use this shape, because I can't have the major 7th and the 9th on this string. Okay, so now watch or listen to how nice this is one of my favorite chords. Okay, so this is a C major 7th with a 9th, and you can alternate between, we saw this is a C6 with a 9, okay, very nice changes of chords, and you can see how they are constructed. So I think that I've shown you some examples. I can't really show you every single combination. You can see the logic behind constructing these chords, and you can see how many combinations there are. I must mention the sus chords as well, actually, if you don't mind. Just 1 second. I'll put the root back here. Okay, so the suspended is usually a 4th. So it would be the F note here. So I'm going to put the sus 4, looks something like. Okay, or because the 4th happens to be here as well. Okay, so you go from the 3rd and you suspend. That's why it's called suspended. So because you're suspending, the 4th is replacing the 3rd. So you've got an okay. Now the 4th is the same as the 11th. If you add 7, you get the 11th. So the 4th and the 11th are the same, except in the same way as the 9th, you have to have at least the 7th to make an 11th. So let me show you how we can make an 11th chord. Okay, so I'm going to put the 4th here, which is the 11th, but I need the 7th as well, so I'm going to place the 7th here. And actually that's giving me an 11th of sorts. Now if I add the 9th as well, I'll have a full 11th. Okay, where's my 9th? So this is, let's play this one first. Okay, so this. Okay. So this is like a 7th sus 4 back to the 7th. Remember, you've got the 7th and the 11 here, actually. So I'm going to replace the 4, because I've got the 7th here. I'm going to replace it with the 11th, okay, here. And if I put a 9th, I've got a very nice 11th. So if I put the 9th here, then I end up with a very nice chord here, okay, which is. So I've got the 9th, the 7th, and the 11th, and the root here. Once again, I can play the 5th if I wanted to. And here's another C11th. I'll let you analyze. Actually, you've got the 4th here, or the 11th, you've got the 9th, you've got the 7th here, and the root here, okay? So you've got several shapes that I've shown you for an 11th chord. Okay, this one. Some of them have the 9th, some of them don't have the 9th, okay? This one doesn't have the 9th, okay? These ones have the 9th, okay? And so I've shown you quite a few chords so far, and mainly the logic of constructing these chords. When I showed you the 6th, I should have talked about the 13th. And I apologize, because the 6 and the 13 are the same and follow the same logic as the 2nd and the 9th. So what is the 13th? Earlier on we looked at, let me go back to and place the root here again. We played the 6th here, but this time I'm going to call it 13 because I'm going to have to add a 7th somewhere, okay? And I can add a, let me see where I'm going to find the 7th. It's not so easy here. So I'm going to remove this and put the 7th that we saw earlier. I'm going to put this 7 here. I'm going to put a 3rd here. And I'm going to put a root. And I'm going to put a root here. Okay, so it's not a very obvious shape, huh? Now, I would play it like this actually, but as I said, I'm not explaining the A, I'm not working on the A shape today to produce this. So this is one of the shapes that you can use actually as a 13th, huh? Which in this case is a 7th, a C7th with a 6th, huh? or a 13th. Okay? You can also add the 9th if you want. Huh? Okay? But you will see these shapes actually being used. Okay? Earlier on actually I talked about the 5th, the augmented 5th. And this has just reminded me that there's a very nice shape where you have an augmented 5th. Huh? Let me place okay, and this is a really nice shape. Okay, C augmented, okay, augmented 5th here. And you will see a lot of these shapes that I showed you today move up and down. The 9th, okay, the 6, 9 move up, the major 7, 9, they move up. What I've just shown you actually, this augmented chord, they move up. So a lot of these shapes actually are movable. So once you've learned the shape in one position, you can move it up and down. And do remember that sometimes these chords are played with the bass on the 5th as the bass. Huh? Okay, which can be really confusing in some cases. Huh? So I showed you some nice augmented 5th shapes. Now I want to get to the minor chords. Okay, so I'll start from the beginning and I'll show you the C. So where's my root? Here's a root. I want major 3rd. Back here, I'll have another root, please. I'll put it here. And I'm back to, let me remind you where the 5th is actually, just so you don't forget that I've got a 5th here. And I have got a 3rd, another E here in this open string. Okay, so back to C major. Now I'm going to start moving into the minors, okay? And the easiest way actually to move, obviously you're going to tell me play this, but once again I'm not yet doing the A shape, not on this video anyway. Huh? So I'm not going into this kind of C minor. Huh? I'm going to show you the C minors that you can play here, even if they are a little bit awkward. Huh? So the obvious way to do to get a C minor chord is to move the third, the major third, and make it a minor third. Huh? So let me move this and replace it with a minor third. I'm sure I have a minor third somewhere, unless it got lost. Okay, I'm going to make it minor third. Okay, there we are. We've got a minor third. So this is a very awkward shape, and watch out, don't play this third. You're not allowed to play this string because a third and a minor third don't sound nice together at all. So I'm going to insist that you don't play this string. Huh? But listen, this is quite a nice C minor chord. Huh? Very awkward in terms of fingering, as you can see. Huh? But it is, I have seen it used and it sounds really nice. Huh? Okay? If I play the E, the major third, it doesn't sound nice at all, although some people would, I'm sure, find a use for it somewhere. Okay? Now, let's explore the minor chords actually and see if we add a seventh, things become more interesting. Huh? Now watch this C minor 7. This is a very nice, and obviously these chords move. The first chord doesn't move up and down because we've got open strings, but this one, okay, I better move this 5 out of the way. Okay, this is what it looks like. And then obviously you can alternate. Okay, so you can really play some nice. So C, and this is not obvious actually, not many people have seen this shape for a C minor 7th. Okay, now I'm going to make it even more interesting. I'm going to remove that root here and put a 9th. And this is one of the nicest chords that you have, and it's this is C minor 9th. Okay, and you can add a 4th if you want, or an 11th. Okay, so C minor 11th, but now you can. I forgot to mention actually that when you've got this chord here, the C minor I showed you, C minor 7th, looks like this. You can play it like this because you've gone from the root to the 7th. This is not very used, but it is. I have seen it used, and it doesn't shift up and down because you still have an open string. Okay, so back to this nice C minor chord. Now you will see this is a very nice combination. This is a Fotografia by Jobim. It starts with. Now this chord, it's nothing to do with C major, it's an F 7th shape, but I'm just illustrating how in this song we go from a major chord, which is the major 7th and the 9th, to the C minor 9th. One go ba 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 ba. that's an F chord, okay? So, but it's a very nice change from pa 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 pa, and you will find this actually quite often. Huh? I think that in Vivo Sognando, vivo sognando, sognando mil horas sem fim, gente que vai perguntando se gostas de mim. So the beginning is vivo sognando, sognando mil horas sem fim. You've seen these chords, huh? Gente que vai perguntando se gosta de mim. Okay, so this is to show you the change from a major chord to a minor chord, and you can see we've seen how these chords have been constructed. Huh? Okay. Occasionally you will find some quite complex shapes, things like a C minor ninth, but instead of having the seventh, you have the major seventh. Now listen to this interesting sound. This is the C minor ninth. This is the C minor ninth, but with a major seventh added. Huh? Remember, the major seventh is the B note. Huh? It's the major seventh for C. Huh? Okay, so I'm trying to think what I haven't shown you in terms of chords. You've seen sevenths, you've seen nines, you've seen sixes and 13ths, you've seen 11s. You've seen minor chords. Let me see what I can show you in terms of minor chords, if there's anything else that can be interesting. This is an interesting chord because it's got it's a minor, it's a C minor 6 with a 9. Huh? If you play it like this, it's a C minor 6, which is odd. You would never think actually that this is a C minor 6, because it doesn't look, it looks more like an F, doesn't it? An F chord. But it is, if you look at the different notes, you've got the 6 here, you've got, what note have we got here actually? Minor, okay, this is the minor third, the 6th, and you've got the root here. You've got 2 roots, okay. You can add the 5th if you want, okay. So this is a C minor 6, played like this, and obviously this one moves up and down as well. Huh? Okay. I think that I've shown you at least 20 chords that we've managed to construct in the space of maybe half an hour. And this is the kind of exercise that I think would be extremely useful for you to do, starting from another shape. If you want to follow the caged system, the next shape you would play with would be the A shape. And then you can apply the same logic. You can play an A major and then start seeing what an A major 7th, what an A 7th look like. Might look like this as well. Add 9th. Okay, so this is the best way actually to learn the chords, is to actually try to construct them, knowing the rules, knowing your fingerboard as well. You really need to know the first 5 frets at least when you're working with this shape and this shape. And with the G chord you still you can explore some interesting shapes. The E is so actually if you learn your first 5 frets, all the notes well, and you start exploring the different intervals, you can cover all of the caged chords and explore how the chords are built in the same way. I would like you to guess what this chord is. I'm only playing 4 strings actually, from string number 2 to string number 5. I didn't show you this chord, but I would like you to guess what it is with the knowledge that you have from watching the video. Oh. Ești Marcel Salvator, vera ușta nu fi. This is the beginning of Dunas, which is a lovely chord. Okay.